Good morning to you all. Thank you very much for the organizers of this great event. I'm very glad to be part of it. I think that there's a very well-crafted agenda, and I'm sure that after the discussion today, we all will end up with a lot of knowledge about coffee, coffee culture, and important aspects of coffee in Asia. My name again is Santiago Pardo. I'm the director for Asia of the Colombian Coffee Growers Federation. It's my pleasure to be here. I'm going to share with you some details about the importance of coffee in the Colombian economy, in the Colombian society, the role of our organization, the Colombian Coffee Growers Federation, some hard data about the consumption in the world and especially in Asia, and then to give you some indication of what we have done in Asia regarding the trends that we see that are going on right now and that we expect in the future. First of all, maybe most of you know where is Colombia. We are located in the north tip of South America. We only produce Arabica high-quality beans. All of the beans in Colombia are hand-picked one by one. We do not use, because we produce coffee in the mountains, so hence we don't use machines to harvest the coffee. That means that every single bean that is picked in Colombia is picked at the very best time when it's ready and ripe to take. And we process the coffee in Colombia using water, wash, what we call in Spanish beneficio. We transform it using water, also securing the best possible quality. In our country, we have a little bit less than 1 million hectares planted of coffee. We have several different regions, more than 20 regions, that give us very different crop profiles, taking into account the differences in soils and environmental conditions. And also, and finally, we are able to produce coffee all year round. In other words, we have different regions that the harvest is in some months, in some other regions is in another months. So as a whole, the country at any period of time is able to offer to the world markets a good amount of coffee. This picture is shared by some of our colleagues from other countries, and the fact is that in Colombia, the coffee process cultivation is a very small scale. As you see in that pyramid in the graph, almost a little bit more of 60% of our coffee growers own a coffee farm that has less than 1 hectare. And around 95% of our coffee growers own farms that do not have more than 5 hectares in their size. Obviously, that presents a problem of collective action. So fortunately, many years ago, 85 years ago, our grandfathers and grandfathers in the coffee region, they did a very good thing. They founded an organization in 1927 that looked for them, that for 85 years, has been looking for the well-being of the coffee growers in Colombia, that is the Colombian Coffee Growers Federation. We perform a wide variety of activities, starting from research and development. We have a world-class research center called CENICAFE. We provide technical assistance in the field. We have thousands, literally, of agronomists in the fields providing technical assistance to the coffee growers. And one of the key aspects of the activities of the Federation is the purchase guarantee of coffee. In Colombia, every coffee grower can be sure and is certain that the Federation will be able to provide the best possible price for its coffee, for their coffee. And on the other hand, the coffee growers are not bound to sell the coffee to the Federation. They are free to sell it to private exporters to cooperatives and also to the federation, but is the federation the only one that assures a minimum best possible price. We are involved also in logistics, in the global chain of coffee with harvesting, warehousing, sorting, processing, packaging, and exporting not only green coffee, but also processed and industrialized coffee, instant coffee, and roasted coffee. And another key issue is that we enforce literally also quality for exportation of the coffee beans in Colombia. The Federation has offices in every single port in Colombia, and most, if not all, of the coffee that is shipped to other countries is analyzed by the Federation to be sure that it complies with the minimum standards. So that has meant that the Colombian coffee is very well recognized for its quality, and we maintain a premium above the same contract in New York. We're also involved in commercialization, domestically and internationally, of every type of coffee, and also we provide and we make and perform campaigns of advertisement, marketing, and promotion. Regarding Asia, getting a little bit more in the details of the Asian market, we have been here for quite a long time, actually 50 years in the region. Our also grandfathers in the Federation, they were visionaries. They decided to establish a representation in Japan for the Asia-Pacific markets in 1962. That was a very long time ago, and at that time, not even Colombia was not known in Asia, but coffee was not drunk in Asia at that time. So that bet actually paid off. Right now, Colombia exports a little bit more than 1 million bags only to Japan, and around 1.56 million on average to the Asia-Pacific markets. In the picture you can see some of the activities that we carry out since the 60s, not only in Japan, but also in China and in Korea. We participated, for example, that black and white picture is the Osaka Expo exhibition in 1970, when we started promoting one of our leading brands of Colombian coffee in Asia, that is Emerald Mountain, that you can find it even here in Korea. Since some decades ago, we, as in any other business and associations, obviously we focus on add value to the exports. Not only export Colombian green coffee, that even though all the Colombian coffee had a premium, we wanted to have more value for our coffee growers. So we started climbing in that ladder of value added, starting with the specialty coffees being sold in the world markets. Industrialized coffees, the Federation owns and produces a freeze-dried factory that also produces coffee extract. And we also then, some years ago, started our own brand that is the key image of the Colombian coffee growers, our Juan Valdez icon. We have right now a brand that is sold in the international markets, and not only the brand, but also coffee shops, and you will be, very soon I hope, you will be able to taste Colombian coffee in our own Juan Valdez coffee shops in the streets of Seoul very soon. In this graph you can see the change in the composition of the exports of Colombia. On the left-hand side is the whole Colombian exports, in which we have seen the green and blue colors on each one of the in each one of the years of the columns. Shows the value-added export. That means everything that is different from standard coffee. Specialty coffees, certified coffees, freeze-dried coffee, coffee extract, and roasted coffee. As a whole, we passed from 2%, around 9% in the year 2000, to 36% of value-added coffee in a little bit more of a decade. And especially in the right-hand side, the direct exports of the Federation, this figure is even more strikingly. 70% of our coffees, right, of our exports of coffee are already with value added. Let me pass now to give you some context of, we have just listened to a very important details about the world consumption and consumption in Asia. In this graph we have the world consumption by regions measured in 60 kilo bags. And generally speaking, we see that every single region in the world, in absolute terms, is growing the consumption in every single region. But we have differences within regions. Another way to say that is that some regions are growing more rapidly than others, hence gaining a little bit of proportion in the total of the consumption. We have the producing countries, the consumption in producing countries increasing a lot, especially Brazil. Brazil has a key driving force of this, but also Asia, as we just listened also, India, Thailand, Indonesia. Even though they are producing countries, their own consumption is also increasing. In Colombia, we are carrying out a campaign to increase the consumption in coffee internally and domestically. In the Asia-Pacific markets, in this case it's only imported markets, not producing countries, is also increasing that consumption, especially Korea, China, and Thailand. And we have a proportional decrease in some other more mature markets such as Western Europe and even in the US in the proportion, again, not in total numbers. Some more details about Asia and Australia and New Zealand. As we see in the graph, consumption is increasing. It's right now, and this does not include producing countries, a little bit more of 13 million bags. And also, as we see, the consumption of Robusta variety coffee is being gaining terrain. It passed from 36% in the year 1996 to a little bit more, or around 44-43% in the past 2 years. Obviously, that is expense of Arabica variety consumption, that right now is a little bit or around 56-57%. Anyhow, and this is to contextualize the Colombian coffee, as I mentioned before, we produce and export only Arabica coffees. There is still an important growth rate of 1.5 average growth rate in this period, and is expected to keep growing even though Robusta consumption rate of growing is higher. What has happened, generally speaking and historically, in the medium term with the consumption in coffee related to the economic conditions and income, disposable income in the countries. Generally speaking, there is a positive and direct correlation in economic growth, in this case measured as a GDP per capita, and the consumption of Arabica coffee. Key examples are Japan, almost 60% of the coffee consumed is Arabica. Australia, a little bit more of 50%. Even Korea is around a little bit less than 50%. And the big challenge for Arabica coffee will be China, which is right now dominated, of course, by Robusta consumption, mainly by coffees produced in Vietnam. So we hope, and the trend it will continue to be as it has been for quite a number of years. So Arabica consumption also will grow in the way that countries such as Korea, Thailand, and Indonesia also grow in their economic terms. This graph also is very interesting. In the horizontal axis, we have the expected consumption, the growth of consumption of Arabica coffee. In the vertical axis, we have the percentage of Arabica already consumed. This is year 2010 in each one of the countries, and the size of that round ball, if you take into, let's say, in comparison, USA, of 16.5 million bags of consumption of Arabica coffee, it can give us the indication that China, even though the market, as I just mentioned, is not big right now for Arabica coffee, will grow a lot, 8 or even around, some experts say more than 10% in the years to come. Korea also around 6%, and Hong Kong and Australia around 2% in the years to come. Let me now share about some details about Korea. You maybe know better this figure than myself. We expect a growth around 4% in consumptions in the years to come to the year 2015. So in that year is expected the market to reach a little bit more than 1.8 million bags of coffee. So right now I'm gonna do the same with some countries. I thought preparing this presentation that a good way to give you some good details of what we have done is take into account the trends in the international markets and what the Federation has been doing in Asia. So in this case, starting with Korea, everybody knows it. We just have to look around. There is a large number of coffee shops. It's everywhere. It's even debated in legislation also, as we just heard and is publicly known. There is increased interest in baristas, coffee shops, and coffee cultures, and looking for the best possible quality beans in the market. This Cafe Show trade exhibit is a very good, example of it. So in this case, what we have been providing micro lots in the Korean market with key partners, be able to provide not even large quantities of coffee, but very specific and small even estate coffees, in which the Federation has the capabilities to give all the traceability back to even the family of the farmer. We can also supply small quantities and we are doing some alliances with key logistical partners in the Korean region. And specifically for baristas, we launched it, and I urge you to visit this. It's not a website, it's a hub called Colombian Coffee Hub, in which coffee lovers, baristas can share their experiences, post information not only related only to Colombian coffee, but coffee generally speaking. Regarding roasted coffee in Korea, even though the largest portion of the market is for instant coffee, there is an increased interest in roasted and good quality coffee in Korea, and looking for new stories to tell and to be able to merchandise in a new way. So in Colombia, we have been working in our geographical indications. Two examples of that are very well-known regions in Colombia, Nariño and Cauca, in which we already have designed and approved the geographical indications. So we are able to merchandise that coffee with those geographical indications. Another key feature that we had last year, part of the Colombian coffee region was regarded by UNESCO as a World Heritage Site. This is, I can say that with a lot of pride as Colombian, because it's the first time that UNESCO grants this distinction to something that is different from a temple, let's say a geographical place, but in this case it took into account the way that coffee is grown, the cultural value of our coffee growers, the sustainability on the way that coffee is grown. So UNESCO believed, and it's a key factor for our coming generations, that this way of living and producing country needed to be preserved. So it was granted again as a World Heritage Site. So we have been able to take or make good use of this distinction, merchandising coffee in the Asian markets that comes from this specific region. Another trend in Korea, there is also, especially when the coffee prices were up a little more than 1-2 years, to reduce the supply chain, to be able to be competitive, provide the best possible quality coffee at the least possible price. In this regard, we have been working with partners in Asia, reducing prices, cutting the value chain, negotiating directly, even with supermarkets that buy the Colombian coffee directly to the Federation, and take that coffee to the consumers, to the coffee shelf, without using a lot of intermediaries. We have been doing also the same, not only for green beans, but also for soluble and for our brand in roasting coffee, Juan Valdez. Another key trend is the instant coffee and soluble coffee. We see it everywhere, in the convenience stores, in the supermarkets, not only 3 to 1, 3 in 1, but even 4, 5, 6 to 1. So we have been able also to work with the specific partners in Korea to be able to present the best possible products for the Korean taste. Let me now share a little bit more of Japan, where we are based. Very known fact, it's a mature market. It will even not only be sustained in its consumption, but decrease. In this case, is expected to decrease a little bit, around 0.3% in the years to come, even though it's a very big market, consumption around 7 million bags a year. Some of the trends that are going on right now in Japan, the convenient consumption, there is increased household consumption for roasted coffee and also for instant coffee. In that case, we have been working with key partners in the coffee industry, for example, with Nespresso, promoting and developing coffee in the origin, in the source, that use not only Colombian coffee in the Nespresso blends, but also 100% Colombian coffee. So we work with this company developing the products, and in our case, in the Japanese market, pushing that demand for single portions, especially in our case for Colombian coffee. We have been working also with leading coffee shops chains, promoting and merchandising the coffee that I just mentioned that comes from the UNESCO Colombian World Heritage Cultural Region landscape. Another key important market trend in Japan is the increased coffee sales by the internet. In this case, we have been doing partnerships with leading roasting companies in Japan, promoting Colombian coffee, and we are also, right now, and we started that initiative this year, promoting Colombian coffee information in the social networks. I was just speaking before the conference started about Juan Valdez, how well is known our icon in the US. That also makes us very proud, but it's a result of a long time campaign in the media that cost the Federation good amount of resources. Right now we have to be very eager to maximize the way that we promote our Colombian coffee and information about Colombian coffee. So in this case, we started with Japan, with the social media such as blogs, Twitter accounts, to be able to provide to the public and to the coffee lovers information, in this case in Japanese, and sometime in the future we want to do the same in Korean language for Korean. Another market trend related in Japan to the convenience in consumption is the importance of ready-to-drink beverage in Japan. This is a unique case. The canned coffee in Japan is by far the leading drink, even beyond or above sodas and water. And we have been having a partnership of more than 20 years with a key leading canned coffee beverage that is also present in Japan, that uses not only our coffee, but also through an agreement, our coffee brand, Emerald Mountain. Now let's pass to China, also very well known. You can see this very steep curve. Consumption is going to be increased by an average rate of more than or around 10% each year, even though the base is still small. China will reach a consumption about a little bit more than 1 million bags in the year 2015. In this case, we have been able to somehow replicate what we have done in Japan. We decided to open a branch of FNC representation in Asia in Beijing in the year 2006 to promote Colombian coffee as the richest coffee in the world and to be able to increase the recognition of the quality of the Colombian coffee in China. Some of the very important market trends right now in China is the importance of premium coffee for very specific segments. In this case, our representation in China has been working, performing coffee sessions for specialty coffees and offering micro lots for small coffee shops and coffee lovers, baristas, and micro roasters. We are already even selling our brand Juan Valdez coffee, especially in China, since the logistics are different and the size of the market is so big, using e-commerce, merchandising this coffee through key e-commerce sites in mainland China. And we are also selling Buen Dia, our instant coffee in China in the Chinese supermarkets. Finally, regarding Australia and New Zealand are also key important markets for Colombian coffee. Both of them have important average growths in the year to come. In the case of New Zealand, expected to be 2%. In the case of Australia, 4%. And there is also important in the shortening the supply chain. For example, we are right now providing freeze-dried coffee to a leading supermarket chain in Australia that is not only produced in Colombia, but is sold to Australia directly packed in jars for private label for that supermarket chain. Some other trends in that part of the world are environmental awareness. We are able to supply Colombian Rainforest Alliance coffee, for example. The importance of social responsibility issues as well. What better than have the backing of the Federation, in which we have been working directly with the farmers to make coffee sustainable for more than 8 decades, to show to the international buyers that we are both environmental and social responsible. And there is also importance of gourmet and high or quality or specialty coffees in which one the Federation is also providing microlots to that market. So those are some trends of what we have been doing in Asia for the past 50 years. Our aim is to keep working for the recognition of Colombian coffee as the richest coffee in the world in Asia. All of those activities only with one end, that is to improve the quality of living and the sustainability of our coffee growers. I convey you to visit our websites. We have a lot of information. Again, we have an office in Japan and in China, and we are present also in this important exhibition, so we'll be happy to share more details with you of the importance of Colombian coffee in Asia. Thank you very much for you to be here and share with me this experience. And again, thank you for the organizer for this very important event. Thank you very much.
FNC의 산티아고 파르도님이 발표하셨는데요. 혹시 저희가 시간이 조금 있어서 지금 발표하신 내용과 관련해서 질문 혹시 있으세요? 저희가 질문 있으시면 질문 한번 하고 끝을 내볼까요? Do you have any question about this presentation?
First speaker or second speaker? Second speaker? Someone should ask a question.
Yes. Mr. Santiago, if you don't mind, did you get some questions?
Yeah.
Okay, he wanted to. Please come to.
Dr. Santiago Pardo.
Yeah.
Muchas gracias por your presentación. Thank you for your wonderful presentation. My question is very simple. What do you expect for global coffee innovation? Will it happen from growers, or will it happen from some roasters or baristas? I mean, big innovation, breakthrough innovation, like you developed some new product like freezing coffee like that. So my question is not simple innovation, big innovation. What do you expect in 5 years? Who will lead that such innovation in the global industry?
Thank you. Very, very hard question. I guess that my answer is that I guess that those innovations have to come from joint forces. I don't think that producing countries will be only by themselves be able to go to the next breakthrough. We have, and this is somehow what I wanted to show, we have very strong collaboration with the industry everywhere in the world, especially not only in Asia but also in the US and in Europe. So I think that the next breakthrough, with all the challenges that we have, and there is people coming after this section in the conference that will show the big challenge that we have environmentally, not only for producing coffee. I guess that one of the challenges will be not only to come with a new thing, but to keep producing coffee in the way that is grown right now. Recently, maybe some of you heard, there's one study that says that Arabica coffee will disappear from the earth, from the planet in some decades. So I guess that only through that joint forces, for example, with the research and development teams of producing countries, with leading companies and associations and federations in the consuming countries, we will be able to come up with this breakthrough.
Dr. Pardo, I continue to use that. From coffee growers' perspective, about organic is very common now, used for every industry, producers industry. So when I see organic coffee, how much can I rely on? Is it true, or is it just some marketing gimmick? Or can I hear about truth from your side?
Also very, very difficult question. And let me say from our point of view, from the Federation, and there is a lot of discussion about certification, the usefulness of it, if it really benefits directly the growers or not. We believe so that it benefits the coffee growers, but of course the way that we have been working in Colombia, and it's the previous speaker mentioned the importance of leading associations, federations, in this case of consuming nations, but the same also is true in producing nations. So we have been able to tell everybody with a straight face that coffee that is grown in Colombia is grown in a sustainable manner, that coffee growers get the most money for their product, and we are doing so taking into account and obviously complying with environmental standards. So in that sense, anyhow, we have been in partnership with some organization around the world, and I don't think that that's a gimmick, of course. I think that well managed, those schemes really benefit the coffee growers.
네, 다음 질문 있으세요? 혹시 다른 분? 네. 네, 아까 발표 자료에서 봤던 네스프레소 나오라라는 캡슐을 제가 인터넷 홈페이지에서 그 제품 개발에 대한 동영상이나 그런 정보를 좀 봤는데요. 그 커피 제품 제조사와 FH가 이제 콜라보레이션을 통해서 만들었던 제품 개발 단계에서 혹시 인상 깊었던 점이 있었다거나 아니면 힘들었던 점이 있었다면 그런 게 어떤 점이었는지 궁금합니다.
Thank you. Hopefully I didn't miss the first part of the question. But yes, and I wanted to show also that example, and it's related to the previous question. So for example, with Nespresso, everybody knows Nespresso is here present in cafe shows, the leading breakthrough global brand and very keen on innovation. So this is a very good example about how a representative growers organizations such as the Colombian Coffee Growers Federation can work with a leading consuming company making together a new product. In this case, I don't know if you heard about it, we had, this is something very unique. It was a special edition of Nespresso called Naora. It was developed jointly by the Federation and Nespresso. And in this case, we, let's say, use an idea that is being long ago in winemaking, that is in this case to use not the exact time that the beans are collected in Colombia, but like over, let's say, the maturity of the beans, we extended a little bit that maturity of the beans. So in that case, we were able with Nespresso to provide a new type of coffee for the consumer. So it's again a very good example of what can be done when the two extremes of the consumer companies and the growers themselves come together to get to the final consumer that great product.
네, 다른 분 더 있으십니까? Do you have any other questions? 네.
Okay, this is a question to Mr. Pedro. The fair trade has been a key, a hot word in the local coffee market, and more NGOs have been trying to reach the consumers in Korea directly with the growers in foreign countries. Has this topic, fair trade, been an issue among the growers in your country? If it has been, then has there been any measures taken by the association on this issue?
Thank you. Right now, for example, we have programs in Colombia to grow coffee using, let's say, the seal of fair trade. So I was saying before, and this is a matter of pride for Colombian coffee growers, we can say that in Colombia we can again assure that all coffee that is grown, not only the one that is sold, let's say, under the seal of fair trade, guarantees that the coffee grower has the best possible price. And this is only possible because the Federation has the obligation that I mentioned in the activities when I briefly mentioned what we do, is that we have to guarantee a minimum price. There are no many other countries, as far as I know, that have the architecture, institutional architecture that Colombia has to be able to provide that. So in this case, again, every coffee grower in Colombia can grow the coffee and be sure that there is somebody, that in this case is the Federation, that will give the best possible price. And also, if they are in this certification program, such as Fair Trade, for example, they will have a premium. We do sell coffee in Asia under the Fair Trade, and that is sold, for example, we have the C contract, the C New York contract, we have the premium of Colombian coffee that right now is around 10 cents per pound, and there is a higher even premium for that. So in this case in Colombia, that money that is collected at the end goes directly to the consumers, to the producers, or to the cooperatives that produce that coffee.
Okay.
Yes, just one question. How or what have you done in order to maintain so high differential for your coffee?
Thank you. I was in Vietnam a year ago, and we will have also presentation in Vietnam. So the same question, the association, the president of the Association of Coffee Growers in Vietnam asked to me. I guess that the main factor has been that the coffee growers have been able, and that's been even a case of a study in let's say even in the economic literature for the Federation, to be able, is a rare case of growers being united for a very long time, and to be able to create and to sustain the institutions that at the end of the day make possible to coffee to be recognized with a premium. So generally speaking, from the beginning, we are able to provide the technical assistance to grow very good quality coffee. We decided in Colombia some years, a long time ago, also, we took a bet, is to produce only Arabica coffees. We are not producing any single Robusta coffee in Colombia. That is even right now subject to a lot of discussion. If you go to the internet, you find that today there is strong discussions in Colombia because there are people that are saying we should grow Robusta coffee, we should diminish the role of the federation. Some people, everybody has their liberty to say what they want and what they would like in Colombia. But I'm sure, not only because of course I work for the federation, that the work that the federation has done from the beginning, growing the best quality coffee, enforcing the standards, this is one of the key issues. As I mentioned also before, every single bag of coffee or shipment of coffee that leaves the Colombian ports is subject to be tested. And this is not only subject to be tested, there is consequences if the coffee does not comply with the minimum standards of Excelso coffee in Colombia. So those controls, and also it goes along with the campaigns that we have done. We have been able, and mainly in the US, but also in Asia, Japan is a very good example of it. I live in Tokyo, and everybody links good quality coffee to Colombian coffee and to the Colombian Coffee Growers Federation. So that collective action that has lasted for a number of years, that has been able to survive a lot of governments, a lot of discussions, a lot of criticism. We are not perfect as a federation, everything is not perfect of course, but I guess that is the best possible institutional arrangement that a sector, agricultural sector, can have in this case in our country. So if you get together growing good quality coffee, enforcing the standards in the exportation, and promoting the coffee, we have been able to get the premium for quite a number of years.
네, 마지막 질문 하나 더 받도록 하겠습니다. 질문 있으세요? 네, 여기 앞에. Is that the last question?
콜롬비아 커피는 대부분 스페식 방식으로 이루어지고 있잖아요. 근데 요즘에 환경적인 것과 관련해서 스페식 방식이 물을 많이 사용하기 때문에 환경에 오염도 있다는 우려들은 나오고 있는데, 혹시 콜롬비아는 그 내추럴 방식이나 서브 내추럴 방식 이런 식의 커피를 혹시 연구하고 있는지, 만약에 연구하고 있다면 언제쯤 저희들이 맛볼 수 있을까요?
Thank you. This is also a very good question that gives me the opportunity to share that we have been working in all those issues. Some years ago we noticed, and it was not a surprise, that we were using or even wasting a lot of water in the beneficio of the coffee, the way that coffee is processed. So we took care of it. There is our research centers in Icafe developed some new techniques to use much less water. I'm not an expert on that field, but I can let you know that of course this new way of have the processing of the coffee using much less water is already there and is promoted by the federation. So this is one of the good examples to see how in Colombia we also take care of the sustainability of our natural resources. So water is a key issue in Colombia, and there is this new technique to use less water. Thank you very much for your question.